okay, we're back and better than ever, baby.
Unbelievably codependent. I couldn't walk into a Starbucks by myself.
It's completely normal to not want to be physical with somebody when they're potentially fucking cheating on you and treating you like shit.
I didn't even know who I was anymore without my drive, my independence, my motivation just for myself and not because of another person.
When it's self-worth that comes from not how you look, but the fact that you know you're a good person that is worth valuing, that's when it becomes unshakable.
I feel like you shouldn't even really be in a committed long-term relationship until you really, really know yourself.
When I have a fucking kidney infection.
Welcome back to the BBR Pod.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Nikayla.
And I'm Brooke.
And we are the hosts of
BBR.
Bitch Be Real.
Bitch, be fucking for real right now.
Be fucking for real. We're about to be so fucking for real.
Yeah, we're about to be really fucking real. These are our co-hosts. This is Slater.
They're going a little crazy on the bones
Oh my
here.
God, he's like, okay, he's really getting fucking into it. And this is Coco. These are our co-hosts, our amazing puppies.
They're going to be here fucking up their bones for the entire time.
They're cute entertainment. If you don't want to look at us, look at them. Today, we're going to be talking about relationships. I'm very excited to dive into this topic.
So we have a deck of cards here. There's about 10 questions. We're just going to ask each other the questions and answer them. So our first question, what's your idea of the perfect date?
I feel like my perfect date, which actually I was offered this date recently and I rejected it. So my perfect date when I'm already knowing someone, not a good fucking starter date, but like a good, I already know you and love you date is cooking together, you know, like creating a cute little meal, cooking together, light a little candle, put on like old-timey romantic shit, like
dancing in the kitchen.
Yeah, dancing in the kitchen, maybe have on a cute little lingerie set, like, you know, and put on like Frank Sinatra and like just chef it the fuck up. Like
that sounds spicy, sexy, spicy.
Yeah, with like a little bottle of wine or something, a little drink.
That sounds like a good fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
My idea of a perfect date, it could be a first date or a whatever date, but I could do this shit every day of my life. Like the key to my heart, this is it. I forgot the airport overlook. I forgot the word.
This is it.
This is it.
Thumbs me up and holy shit.
That's it.
You're
First
in my
date.
pants. Oh my God, busting it wide open after that shit.
They say give me one margarita. I say give me one thumbs up, bitch.
Give me one thumbs up. Bam!
Bam! No, my idea of the perfect date would be airport overlook, sunset. That's pretty much it.
Overlooking sunset.
Overlooking sunset, watching the planes take off. I just feel like it's such a relaxing vibe. Maybe if you're religious, you take the Bible out, read some verses of the Bible together.
You'll get into Jesus.
Journal a little bit, yeah.
Bible study shit.
And honestly, this could go anywhere. You could literally set up the sunset at the top of a mountain. You could go right here.
Yeah.
There's a perfect view of the sunset from this fucking patio. Like, perfect date for me.
Yeah, so cute.
Key to my heart.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
Thumbs up.
Boom. What do you think is the main way you show love?
I feel like I show love in many different ways. Gift giving is definitely my number one, though. Whenever I just want to make somebody feel special, I'm pretty good with like words of affirmation too and like hyping people up. I would say I'm a pretty good hype man.
You are.
But I definitely show my love through gifts, and I like finding things that I think people will really love and then purchasing them for them or making them.
Yeah, you always bake.
I do bake.
You be baking for people you love.
I feel like
the main way I show love is definitely not physical, but like just doing stuff, like acts of service. Not as much like gift giving, not as much stuff like that, but like if I love you, I will be cooking for you. I'll be doing your laundry. I'll be bringing you lunch to work. Like I'll be doing anything I can service wise to like show you that I love you. Acts of service in all senses of it, like whatever I can do to make your life easier. Like if you text me you're hungry and you're at work and I have time, like I'm gonna run you by food. I'm gonna leave you cute little like love notes, like put it on your car. Hope you have a great day at work.
I love that. I would say that that's true. When we worked at Beat Ups together, if I was having a bad day, you'd always make sure that you would do extra stuff to help me out and ease my time, which I really love. And I think a lot of people can appreciate that.
Yeah.
The right people anyway.
Yeah, the right people.
The right people.
Keyword there.
Keyword. Okay, next question. What am I most qualified to give relationship advice about?
I feel like the best thing you can give relationship advice on is like, I don't know, honestly finding good fucking people probably. That's my least qualified shit. And so I feel like you are good at like spotting good people and just like knowing they're good. Like that fucking Mickey Mouse Instagram you sent me that was like clearly my best friend didn't learn or didn't watch Mickey Mouse growing up. And it's like, what do you do when you see a red flag? You stop. That's not me, but that's you. Like, I feel like I'll be like, "Is this a red flag?" And you'll be like, "Mhm, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
That is a red flag."
I feel like that's true. Honestly, I feel like finding good people is kind of something that I'm lucky. Like, I'm just lucky to have been blessed with good people in my
Yeah.
life. You know, I mean, I do see the red flags, and I've never really been one of those people that just like keeps fucking with people if I don't like them. Like, I just stop talking to them. If they do me wrong, I'm done with it, you know?
Yeah, I need to learn from you on that shit, bitch.
Something I think that you're qualified to give advice on. Recently, probably knowing when to quit, knowing when to stop, because there's always like this keep fighting for the relationship, you know, like stay in it. If you really love the person, like you'll fight for it.
Mhm.
But I feel like recently you've learned and you can give good advice on when is enough in a
Yeah.
relationship, and like when you have given too much of yourself to that person that they're just not giving back to you.
Mhm.
Learning when it's okay to stop, because there is a point where it's okay to stop.
Yeah. That's like one big takeaway I learned recently is the whole narrative of like, if you love it, fight for it is kind of bullshit. Like, to a degree, like clearly it's not like once you're really long term into a relationship because everybody goes through rough patches. But like if you're dating less than a year, and I listened to podcasts that said this, if you're less than a year into dating and it's really rough, like leave because you're not that attached. And I was like, that's bullshit because like you do get attached in less than a year. But I learned that like they were right.
Yeah.
Like if it's been less than a year and you've been going through a rough patch for like 3 months, bro, it's probably time to call it quits.
Yeah.
Like 2-3 years in and you go through a rough patch, different deal. Less than a year in, skedaddle.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of there.
I agree with you.
What's something you regret about a past relationship or past relationships?
Putting a chain on my fucking ring finger at 19.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't regret that relationship in general because it taught me a lot, but I do regret not tying myself down, but agreeing to spend the rest of my life with somebody that young. I guess the biggest regret that kind of ties into that is not knowing myself before giving myself to somebody else. And like I feel like you shouldn't even really be in a committed long-term relationship until you really really know yourself. Just recently have discovered who I am and who I want to be and what I want to embody for the rest of my life. And that is not the last relationship that I was in by any means. If you're married young, good for you. You know, if you get engaged young and you really love that person, good for you. That's great. I'm not knocking that. But for me, I feel like it's impossible for you to really, really give somebody the rest of your life worth of unconditional love without actually knowing yourself first.
Yeah. Mine kind of bounces off of that. I feel like my biggest regret is I always thought I was a person that like knew my worth like 100% and was like 100% self-confident, like nothing will shake me. But I realized that like my self-worth and my confidence was not surface level in the fact that like my confidence was based off my surface level, but it wasn't something that was like, I don't know how to describe it, like truly something unshakable. Like I thought my self-worth and my self-confidence were unshakable. In my past relationship, fucking put that thing in a mixer and just shook that shit up,
Put it
blended
on pulse mode.
Yeah, put it on pulse mode as fuck for like 8 months, however fucking long it was. And I feel like I realized that I need to, because I mean, to a degree, my self worth and self confidence was based off of something solely physical for a while. And I didn't realize that self worth like that is something that you can shake. But it's when it's self worth that comes from not how you look, but the fact that you know you're a good person and the fact that you know you are something that is worth valuing and you see yourself as a truly incredible person inside and out. That's when it becomes unshakable. And at the time when I got into that relationship, I thought I was at that point, but I realized I really wasn't. And so it got shook a lot more than I would have wanted it to. But I'm happy that it did because now I've shifted it to like my self-worth is truly something I'm working on embedding.
Internal.
So that, yeah, something internal so that it'll never be shaken up like that again.
Love that. Having a concrete self-worth.
Yeah.
Very valuable.
Incredibly.
Next question. How do you think you've grown as a person since your last/current relationship?
I feel like clearly what I just mentioned is how I've grown, like finding my self-worth. But outside of that, I think I've realized what I actually want out of my next one. Like I was kind of, because we were talking about that I'm not that good at spotting red flags.
Yeah.
I think it's because I didn't know what I really wanted. Like I've been exploring my sexuality for the last few years, figuring out my preference there. But outside of that, I feel like I didn't really look too hard into character traits.
Yeah.
Like if they were funny and I found them attractive, I was pretty much sold. Still to this day, like if I see an attractive person that's funny, I instantly get just a little crush. But I'm realizing that just because you have a little crush on somebody doesn't mean that they're valuable to date. You need to look at their drive and their character and just so many other characteristics. And I've realized that I need to stop basing shit on if they're funny and hot.
Yeah.
Like I need to start looking at like who they are as a person because the funniness, that shit don't matter when y'all are arguing. And them being hot doesn't matter at the end of the day. It matters if they're going to be loyal to you and if they're driven and if they're intelligent and if they'll take care of you the way they want, like you want to be treated. Like that's what mattered. It doesn't matter this like surface level shit. Like I've realized I need to look a little bit deeper.
I have noticed that actually in the past you've been solely attracted to people based on their looks or and that's not, I don't think that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
When you're learning the value of a relationship.
Yeah.
But now that you have grown since your last relationship, at least from what I've seen, an astronomical amount, by the way, you're looking more at like internal characteristics of people. And I really love that for you.
Yeah. Cause I mean, even I went on like a date or two with a guy and I realized like, yeah, the character's not there.
Right. They're hot and funny, but they're just not really.
They're not a good person.
Right.
And they're not what I'm looking for. And I actually did not continue on.
As you fucking should.
Yeah,
saw the red flag. That's growth.
Yeah.
That is growth.
We saw
the red flag. Stopped. Did not continue.
And also boundary setting. Holy shit, boundary setting. Like I used to be so scared to set boundaries because I was scared of how the person would react or if they would take it as bitchy or if like the boundary wasn't normal in their eyes. And it's like, fuck that shit. I'm no longer putting myself in a situation that makes me uncomfortable because of how you might perceive it.
To make you feel better. And like honestly, that goes along with red flags too, because if you do set a boundary and you tell a person that something makes you uncomfortable and they're not okay with it and they're not understanding, clearly they're not meant to stay in your life. And it's not even worth feeling sorry or caring about what their feelings are because they don't care about yours.
Yeah. And it's like, it shows character right away. The first boundary set, how they respond, character shown.
Something I've learned from this relationship is patience, which is a huge thing because I have never been a patient person. I've always been independent to a fault, to the point where if I wanted something or I wanted to do something with someone, but they couldn't do it with me or do it for me, in the time frame that I wanted it done, I would either lose interest in the idea completely, or I would just get upset, which is annoying. Like that's an annoying characteristic to have. And I would just get like really pissed off and I'm starting to get better with that, like trying to be more healthy about things and be more patient because
I've seen that growth through your relationship.
Oh,
for
good.
Sure.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're seeing the growth, bestie. With this person, like in my last relationship, a lot of things were done on my timetable. Like if I wanted something done, it was pretty much like, yeah, sure, like whatever. Like I had a lot of control, and not because I had to have control or I was controlling, but because the other person was just okay with it.
Yeah.
The person I'm in a relationship with currently isn't like that. And he has his own life. He has other priorities, which I think is a very, very good thing to have.
Yeah.
And we don't see each other every single day, and we can't do things just on the fly like I was used to.
Yeah.
Just that in general has taught me patience, learning that I don't need to have control over every single situation. And I don't like the thing that I want to get done, just because it doesn't get done right when I want it to be done doesn't mean that I'm not still going to have a good time doing it later on.
I feel like that also helps in relationships to be more like less codependent.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's catering towards you all the time, like, yeah, it feels nice, but then you get so used to it that when they can't cater to you, that's when the impatience comes in as well because it's like, "You're not gonna do this for me now? Why? Because you always do that kinda thing."
That's another thing. Codependence, crazy. Because in my last relationship, I was unbelievably codependent. Like, literally, I say this all the time, but I couldn't walk into a Starbucks by myself without like having anxiety to pick up fucking drinks, you know? Like, I think that's just horrible. Like, that's awful. You can't do anything by yourself. And like, I'm not gonna say was the reason that my last relationship ended, but it was a big part of it because I didn't even know who I was anymore without my drive, my independence, my motivation just for myself and not because of another person,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, we're back and better than ever, baby.
Oh yeah.
What do you think is important for your partner to know?
I think for me, the most important thing probably is that I tend to be insecure sometimes and not in and this goes for friendships and relationships, like relationships in general, no matter what it is, but I tend to be insecure sometimes and I need a lot of verbal reassurance. I don't like to ask for it. I think that if you take the time to understand me, you'll come to know that. I think a lot of the people in my life do that, which is really nice. I'm really grateful for that. I just need a lot of verbal reassurance. Yeah. Not like insecure and like I don't know, I overthink a lot.
Yeah.
And I've never been someone who was like overly confident in my appearance. So having that constant reassurance that like you think that I'm attractive or you think that I'm a good person, you think that I'm, and like letting me know when I'm overthinking and like telling me like you're not necessarily thinking straight right now. Like whatever you're thinking isn't true. So
It just helps our relationship go smooth. That's provided and understood.
Mhm.
I think mine. So we filmed this podcast before and we just like really weren't happy with it.
Mhm.
And my answer was that I'm not a physical person. And that's like that was gonna be my go-to response. Like because I was shamed like so much for it in my past relationships. I noticed a pattern of like, and I was made to feel super shitty about it. I was really affectionate in the beginning and I enjoyed it. And then something would go wrong in the relationship, whether that was they started treating me really horribly or like I was sick or just something would come up to where it's completely normal to not want to be physical with somebody when they're potentially fucking cheating on you and treating you like shit. Like, why would I want to be intimate with you when you're treating me like that? Or why would I want to be intimate with you when I have a fucking kidney infection?
No, literally.
Up until honestly, like 3 fucking days ago, I was like, there's something wrong with me. Like, there's something wrong with me, and it's completely my issue that I haven't been physical every single second of my relationships. And so that was going to be my response was that they need to know that I'm not a physical person. But like that's not true. Like I love being around the person I'm dating and I love being physical with them and like taking relationships to another level that's more intimate, but I'm not going to do it when I'm treated like shit. Like and they made me feel weird for that. Like they made me feel like
you were crazy.
yeah, and I have trauma in the past that definitely does play a role. Like, it's I am kind of iffy about some things intimacy wise, but it's something I've overcome a lot. So I don't really think that's what they need to know about me anymore because at the end of the day, whether that was an issue I've struggled with in the past or not, if I think you might be putting your dick in this bitch, I'm not gonna let you put it in me.
No, literally.
Like,
or if you're not being emotionally satisfied in general, like that is such a basic thing. Like, why would I let you inside of me and let you take me to another level in a relationship when you can't even master this part?
No, literally. Like, if you can't provide for me emotionally,
and I feel like that's pretty basic.
Yeah, that's so fucking valid and normal. And I was made to feel so fucking shitty about it. In all of my relationships, every single goddamn one. So this is a PSA that's completely fucking normal. And I almost didn't bring it up because that's not what I believe anymore, but I feel like it's important to be said.
Demand emotional intimacy first.
No, literally, like, take care of me emotionally. Like, I don't know what
It's
else
as simple
to
as
say.
that. Like, care about me, nurture me, make me feel good about myself, and then you get to have the goods.
The goods.
You don't get access.
Because in the beginning of all my relationships, like, I have been intimate with them.
And you wanted to.
Yeah, and I wanted to, and then they started treating me shitty, or like I was sick or something was happening and I didn't want to, and they were like, the fuck's up your ass, basically. Nothing. Especially not you, because you're not treating me right. Like, I don't know what to say. But I feel like now what people need, or my partners need to know about me, is that I don't really take that much shit anymore. And like, I'm just not going to. Like, I literally fucking refuse. Because I haven't really taken shit in my relationships in the past.
Yeah.
Like, I've said something about it. It's just, I've let that, like I mentioned earlier, that like fight for it and forgive them. Like, I've been almost a little bit too much about forgiveness. And I feel like a lot of people, they almost look at that as like something they don't want to deal with. Like, they don't want to be called out on their shit, and they don't want somebody who is overly mature, because then they have to be mature. And it's like, you just need to know, if you're not mature, this shit is not going to work out. And not looking to just have a little fling. Like, I have my shit together, so you need to have your shit together, or else we're just not going to work.
Or actively working on getting your shit together. Like, there are rough points in everyone's life, but like, if you're not actively working on that, we're just not going to line up.
I don't know. Honestly, controversial thing to say potentially on here. You need to have your shit together, okay? Because I don't think not having your shit together is like not making a lot of money in your house, not being clean. I think not having your shit together is not being able to talk to me and having to text me about the serious issues in our relationship. That's not having your shit together. And that has nothing to do with your income or how clean your fucking apartment is. Like,
or if you have one.
Yeah. It's more about, do you have your shit together on a maturity and emotional level, so where even if stuff does start going wrong in your life, to where you can still handle it and have your shit together. Like, yeah, you may have not done your laundry in 2 weeks, but you have your shit together.
Right. And you're not going to treat me like shit because of it. You know?
So yes, you need to have your shit together. Point blank, period.
Agree. Okay, next question. What do you overthink about in relationships?
I would say and I mean, this is something that like I realize I overthink about, and it's not like a good thing. So I hope I don't overthink about this in my next relationship, because I kind of stopped overthinking about it at the end of my other one, because I just realized like, you need to stop overthinking about this. Anytime they would be slightly mad at me, it was like the fucking end of the world. And not because I thought they were going to break up with me, not because I thought the relationship was going to end, but it was like, when they got upset about me, I had a one-track mind to nothing else fucking mattered except making them unupset of me as quickly as possible. Like, the minute they got upset, it was no, there's like, let's sleep on this. There was no like, let's just take a day of like space and kind of think. It was more like, you're upset at me about this, or like, you're upset for some reason. We need to fix it now.
Yeah.
And if we couldn't fix it then, it would be all that was on my mind. And it was, how could we fix it now? Like, I don't think we can fix it now, so let's figure out a way to fix it now.
You would think about ways and do things, like, you'd be like, okay, what can I do to make them not mad at me anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and almost like cater to them in a very special way that they genuinely didn't deserve.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's something I learned, is because people say, don't go to sleep angry. You know, and I think that comes from a place of like, you know, what if something happens and then the last thing that happened was y'all were mad at each other? And yeah, that would be really shitty. Like, that would really be upsetting. But at the same time, sometimes you do just need to sleep on it. Sometimes you do just need to give each other space.
And I think that quote, like, don't go to bed angry, is more for people who have been in long-term relationships, who know each other and understand each other, and both parties are putting in that effort to fix the problem before something more transpires. Where it's not like, okay, I'm upset with you, I'm going to be childish and like go to bed now. Like, it's not the same thing.
Like, I'm going to ignore you now.
Yeah.
Because I'm upset at you. It's like, if that's what's happening, whether you go out of your way 10 times over or not, if they're being childish about the issue, you overthinking isn't going to benefit. It's going to destroy your mental health and give them gratification.
Yeah. And and then make them think that it can become a pattern where like you're giving them exactly what they want, and you're giving them special attention when they treat you like shit, therefore making them think that they can make it into a pattern.
Almost begged my past partners to like not be mad at me. I was going to overthink it anyway.
Mhm.
And it was going to be the only thing on my mind. And so I was like, let me just beg them to not be mad so it can be off my mind. But even that didn't work, because when you have to beg somebody to look at you
and have a conversation
with you and look at you when you're crying in front of them, it doesn't fucking matter if they're like, it's fine now. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still about to treat you like shit. You can do all you want, but when somebody's that fucking childish that they can't even, work with you to solve the issue's not going to be fixed. An issue cannot be fixed on one person's part. Overthinking about how to solve an argument when the other person isn't even thinking about it at all,
or willing to think about it at that,
no point overthinking it. Because it's not actually going to get resolved.
Yeah.
It takes two parties to resolve an issue. It doesn't take one on their hands and knees and the other ignoring that person.
Yeah. The thing I overthink the most, which is just people losing interest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that isn't even specific to intimate relationships or like physical partners or whatever, but them finding someone better. Like, I literally overthink you finding a new best friend.
That ain't never happening. That ain't never happening.
I know realistically, like, I don't think that there is a better friendship for either of us. Like, we balance each other out so well. And like the same in my relationship, like there have been times and times and times where I have brought this up and been like, okay, I think they're losing interest. Like, I think they're getting bored. They might be looking for somebody else. Like, maybe I'm not exactly what they want anymore. And there have been so many times where that person has just come to me and been like, there's literally nobody else that I want to be with. And like, also it's the same thing with needing constant reassurance, being upset with me or like losing interest in me, not loving me the same way that they used to. That's such a dangerous thing, because it's like if I'm sitting here overthinking about the fact that you don't love me anymore, or you don't love me as much as you used to, or you're not interested, or you think that there might be somebody else better, that's causing so much strain in my little brain over here. It's gonna cause external problems at some point.
If somebody loses interest, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
It's not a reflection on you. If somebody goes and cheats or finds someone new, at the end of the day, it's because of something with them.
Which is something that's so hard to actually, like, it's easier said than done, because in that situation, I've never been like physically cheated on. I mean, I have, but it was in high school and didn't like, I feel like it's a lot easier said than done in that situation, because like if I were to get physically cheated on now, or like somebody did lose interest, I would still think somewhere inside me that there was something that I did. Like, I changed as a person. I became annoying. I became too much, like they don't value me for some reason now. And that makes me less valuable as a person, which isn't true realistically, but it's hard to change your brain in that way.
I've had to remind myself of that quote recently. And this is more on the infidelity part, not as much losing interest, because I mean, realistically, losing interest is just sometimes what happens. Like, people grow. It's usually not because of something you lack. It's just maybe they're looking for different things or whatever.
Especially in young relationships, that's pretty prevalent, because people change all the time.
Yeah, and that's a little bit more like, it's not because they have bad character that they lost interest. Sometimes it's just something that naturally happens. And so I think that is a little bit harder to deal with. And I mean, some people might disagree that being cheated on is harder to deal with.
Yeah, I think it's situational for sure.
I think being cheated on, like, to me was more of it reflected poorly on them. Loyalty is loyalty. And I saw something on Instagram actually that said, like, it was a guy talking about his friend cheating on his girl. And he told his friend about it, and his friend stopped being friends with him off the basis of loyalty is loyalty, period. And he was basically saying, your girlfriend does so much more for you than I ever could. She provides you with intimacy. She cooks for you. She's there for you. She knows you more than me. Like, your girlfriend went so out of her way and did more than I will ever be able to do for you. So if you cheated on her, what's keeping you from being unloyal to me? Because she had so much more to bring to the table. She did so much more.
To be completely honest, I don't think that anybody needs to do anything for you.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that you look for in a relationship, but even if they don't go out of their way to be super special and you still go behind their back and disrespect them in that way,
It's a character flaw.
It really is. And it's a bad reflection on you regardless, because there are so many better ways you could have handled that situation than just going out and
doing it.
And doing it and acting on an impulse.
At the end of the day, shitty character is shitty character. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather have shitty character revealed to me less than a year in than 5 years in. It's going to come up at some point. If you're willing to cheat at any point, you're willing to cheat at any point. Like, if you can take my man, please keep him, because he about to do the same shit to you.
And honestly, if you're the girl on the other end of that,
fuck you too, bitch. Because that's a complete disregard for another human being's feelings. If you know I'm in love with someone and you know about me and you know he lives with me and then you still do that shit, you just, even though, yes, in a sense, people might argue that they don't owe you anything, you still know that I love him. And you're completely disregarding that and allowing it to happen. And I am not a blame the girl person. I'm not. No. Like, but I'm still saying it reflects badly on their character too. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it is your partner's responsibility to prevent the cheating. And so I think it falls on them heavier than anything. But it still is a bad reflection on the person he's cheating on you with, because like they're allowing it to happen also. But there are definitely situations where they don't know about the, person being in a relationship, etc. Yeah. And I think then it's completely just blame the cheater. But it's when they know about you, like, and they know about you, they've said hi to you.
Yeah, they've met you, which is disgusting, actually.
It's like, then it's like, okay, like, to be completely blunt, like, fuck both of y'all, bruh.
I hope y'all live a very unhealthy relationship life. Yep.
Yeah.
You go ahead. You do that.
Yeah, because if y'all are both cheaters, y'all both about to just cheat on each other, but maybe then it'll work.
In an alternate universe that we don't want any part of.
Yeah, so y'all can stay over there. What is your view on marriage?
I think that marriage is a very, very sacred thing. I don't think that's something that should be taken lightly. I don't think that there should be any other reason to marry someone beside true unconditional love. I don't think that you should ever marry anybody for money, for a pregnancy. It's literally two families coming together. It is something that is so precious. And I think that there should never be a point in your life where you're marrying someone outside of anything other than true, pure love. That's cultural for sure. That's definitely a Western way of thinking based on my beliefs and what I've seen. I mean, my parents were divorced when I was very young, and it was not a very healthy situation for me and my brother. I want to say heartbreak, but it was just a lot of like anxiety that was brought in, and there was a lot of decisions that I had to make as a child that I should not have had to make. And it made me resent not my parents as a whole, but it made it very hard to be unbiased toward a parent. Deciding to start a family with somebody and starting a life with somebody starts with marriage and starts with finding the person that you truly love. And if you unconditionally, purely love somebody, divorce will never be an option. Yeah. And I think that if you marry somebody for money, if you marry somebody for a pregnancy, if you marry, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like if it's for any other reason outside of creating this new like bond with a person, I think that it's just a dangerous road to go down, and it just creates an unhealthy life for both parties.
Yeah, and I think that's to be said, because when you said divorce is never an option, like the first thing that I thought of was like cheating or betrayal. But I think it's going back to, if it was true unconditional love between people with both good character, betrayal and cheating wouldn't happen. Exactly. But if you marry for something outside of true unconditional love that lasts a lifetime between two people with good character, then that's when shit starts going askew. My views on marriage are kind of complex. Part of me kind of thinks that marriage, cop-out is not the correct word. But I think that some people think of marriage as a way to solidify their commitment, and that makes them feel safer. Because at least in North Carolina, you have to be separated a year before you can get a divorce. And then there's the splitting of assets and like dividing everything up. Like, it's such a permanent thing. I think that people think when they get married, it will provide them with another level of like safekeeping almost, so that you can't just break up like that. Because if you're just dating, you can say the words "we're broken up" and you're broken up.
Yeah.
But with marriage, that's not how that shit works. Like, you now have to be separated a year and then you're divorced, and it's legal, and it's splitting of assets. Like, it's something so much more severe that I think people sometimes go into marriage thinking that this will prevent it ever ending. Like, they think it's some magic potion so that this relationship lasts forever.
Or going off of that, the splitting of assets thing, so that if you do break up, you don't end up with nothing.
Yeah. And so I think it's cop-out's not the right word. I don't know what word I would use to describe that, but I think it's almost like a safety net.
Security.
Yeah. And I don't think it should be treated as such. And I don't know if I'll ever get married, because there have been times where I'm looking at, some of my ex-partners and I'm like, I love you so much that I can see myself marrying you. And I do think that I would like to experience a wedding. I would like to experience that intimate moment celebrating the joining of our families. And I do think eventually I'll be married, but I agree with you in the sense that I will never marry someone for anything other than love. Because I've seen marriages not work out because it wasn't made out of a decision of love. And I also, like, none of the marriages in my family have been good. Like, not a single one from the past 3 generations. So then it's like, I don't know, it's scary because you can be married to someone for 12 years and they fuck you over. Or, people always talk about people show their true colors in dating. That's why you should date for 3 or 4 years, whatever, before you get married. But it's like, that's not always fucking true, because then you get married and they fuck you over. It's like, you can never know somebody's true colors. So getting so legally binded and interconnected with them puts you in a rough spot if something is revealed that you don't like. And then I see the stress that marriages come with when they are ending. And it's like, would it just be easier to say, I'm committed to you for life, and have a celebration of the love without legally committing? And that's more of an open-ended question and thought that I have to ponder. Another thing that we just discussed off podcast. I don't know, side eye or fuck. You can have a lifelong commitment in a marriage and outside of marriage, and all a marriage really does is legally bind you. That's what a marriage does. It doesn't make your love stronger. It doesn't ensure your commitment. It doesn't ensure trust. It doesn't ensure, faith to the other person and no infidelity. It don't ensure shit.
You should already have those things if you're getting married.
The only thing marriage really does is legally bind you and your assets together.
I feel like that's do you know what the definition of marriage is in the Bible? Because I don't. Does it actually bond you closer as a couple?
I know that, like, because from Christianity, from what I've learned, you want to wait to have sex with a person till married, etc. And marriage in the Bible, to my understanding, is something you do in front of the eyes of God to show your commitment to each other in this lifetime. You're doing it officially in the eyes of God.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I know.
If you were religious, just because of the perspective that you just gave, where it doesn't give you anything, it doesn't make your love stronger, it doesn't make your bond closer. I feel like in the Bible it might, based on what you just said, because if it's a God-centered relationship, right, then the act of marriage in the Bible would bring you closer together because it brings you as a couple closer to God. Yeah. Okay.
And honestly, that's a good point. Maybe that we might look into off podcast just for our own things. Maybe we'll post like a little reel. But I'm curious to see how marriage is viewed in multiple religions, because clearly you're Christian and I'm more in like spiritualness. I don't subscribe to a religion, but I would be curious in different religions that are practiced largely outside of America that are based more on spirituality, i.e. Buddhism, Hinduism, etc. More Eastern religions, how marriage is looked at as a whole.
Because I know in some areas, people do arrange marriages for the benefit of the families, like trading like land and assets and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think that's why relationships are so heavily based on culture.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure.
incredibly. And the, like, viewpoint that we just gave is a completely Americanized view on relationships because that's all we know.
Which is, I feel like, is a good point to end with too, is like everything that we say on this podcast is completely subjective to our opinions.
Yeah.
It is not an objective outlook on like the entire world, and we're not telling anybody how to think either. We're just giving our experience, our opinions, and what we think and how we view life in general.
Yeah. We don't know enough about other cultures to even provide a viewpoint.
We would have named this the Worldwide Podcast if that was what we were going to do.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's called Bitch Be Real, and we are being real. The point of this podcast really is to just a selfish reason. I'll give a selfish reason is to grow ourselves as people. For a non-selfish reason, create a relatable and safe space for people who may or may not be going through the same things or want to grow in themselves or in their relationship or just like in life in general, and have a more I would say positive outlook on life, and just bringing positivity into your life by making changes based on our own personal experience.
Yeah, food for thought. You listen to it. Hopefully it provokes like a little thought that will help you in any way.
Provide some like a smidge of value for the rest of your day. That is the end of this podcast. In the next podcast, if you're watching the YouTube video, it will be the exact same setup because we are indeed filming 2 podcasts in one day. Our next episode that we're going to film in about 5 minutes is going to be fear. We have notes.
We've been studying.
So if you're interested in that, come next week to our next podcast episode. Yeah. That is the end of this one. Thank you for being here.
Thank
you. We love you.
We love you.
As always, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at the BBR Pod.
And we're going on a fucking nature trip, bitches.
We're going on a nature trip.
We're going on a nature trip, bitches.